Good evening. This is another opportunity for Maryville Cares. We have an exciting guest for us this evening, Dena Chapman. I'm going to introduce her in just a moment. But first I want you to know that this program is taking place on Cable Access Network Television, Channel 21. It's also streaming on cantv.org/hotline. We invite you to call in if you have a question or a comment about the program, and the number is at the bottom of your screen, 312-738-1060. 312-738-1060. And now I want to introduce our guest, Dena Chapman. And Dena is going to tell you about herself, but Dena, I want you first, if you could, to tell our guests how it is that you come to be working in a wonderful program for families.
Hi, thank you, Sister Kathy. Thank you for having me this evening. My name is Dena Chapman. I am the Field Support Coordinator and Team Lead for A More Perfect Union for Be Strong Families. And I've been working with Be Strong Families for 8 years now. I came through Be Strong Families by way of a program called Adore, a day of recognition event for parents of children with special needs. And this is a program that the city of Chicago ran for many, many years. It was an opportunity to acknowledge and honor the great efforts of children with special needs. I myself am a parent of a child with special needs. And at that time we were looking to have more workshops and trainings to offer resources to these families, and one of our teammates, one of our committee members suggested at that time a parent cafe.
Oh, okay. Now I'm going to stop you for just 1 second because
Sure.
we're going to get to parent cafes. I just want our audience to know that you, Dena, know of what you speak. So you've already told us that you're a mother, and I think you have 2 wonderful children.
Yes.
I think you haven't told us yet, but you have an academic preparation for this work as well. So you have your degree in?
I have my degree in psychology from Loyola University. I have about 12 to 15 years experience in working in the substance abuse and treatment field. And then after that, I worked in early intervention because, as I mentioned before, I have a child with special needs, medically fragile child. My youngest child has special needs. And so I spent 8 years in the early intervention section. And that was my jump start into strengthening families and Be Strong Families as well.
So, Dena, you have a lot of experience in this area. I want our viewers to know about your current organization, which is Be Strong Families. And Dena, there's your name on the screen, of course, with Be Strong Families, and also your website. And would you say a few words about this organization, Be Strong Families, and then we'll go into your specific program.
Sure. Be Strong Families is a small non-for-profit organization, and I like to say it's a small non-for-profit that packs a mighty punch.
I'll second that.
Our mission is to develop transformative conversations that nurture the spirit of family, promote well-being, and prevent violence. So at Be Strong Families, we're all about families and parenting and really strengthening families and building parents to become leaders in their communities and within their families.
And how do you do that? Can you give us an idea first of parent cafes? What are they, and how do you reach out to families? And then we're going to get to the new program that Dena is leading.
Okay, so parent cafes are small, intimate conversations that we have in spaces. We create an opportunity for parents to come together and to talk about the challenges and the triumphs of their parenting. And so we create a very welcoming, nurturing, emotionally safe space that's non-judgmental for parents to have the opportunity to share with one another what matters most to them. Right.
And so when you talk about having this safe space, in case some of our viewers would like to participate in this, are there any kind of requirements that they have to meet to participate?
No, it's open to anybody and everybody. And actually, there are people that are not parents, but maybe they're working with parents. They're also invited to be a part of the Parent Cafe experience.
So you schedule a parent cafe. I've contacted you and I say I want to participate. When I show up for that parent cafe, what does that look like?
So a parent cafe can be conducted anywhere. And as I said before, it's a small, intimate experience or conversation that we have. We set the tone, so we may have like little tables and tablecloths on them and decorations. And I think what's most important, though, in terms of setting the tone, or one of the things that's important anyway, is we have agreements. So that people are respectful in the conversations that they have with one another, and the space is emotionally safe for people to share. We really rely on the deep reflection piece of the cafe experience and the opportunity for there to be peer-to-peer learning, because we believe that parents bring their own wisdom to that experience, and that's how they learn from each other, that's how they grow from the cafe, and that's how they support one another.
And how many parents might be at a particular cafe?
Well, it could be anywhere from 5 to 30. I mean, at a table, there's only going to be 5 because
Okay.
that's part of our cafe fidelity, in order to make sure that the conversations are intimate and people feel comfortable. We only want to have 5 people at the table at a time. But one of the things that's most important about the Parent Cafe experience is the fact that they are grounded in 5 research-based protective factors that help to keep children safe and families strong. And those protective factors are parental resilience. That simply means being strong and flexible. Social connections, the fact that parents need friends, they need to have a support system. Knowledge of child development and parenting. So parenting is part natural and part learned. There's some things that we bring to our parenting to strengthen it, and there are other things that we have to learn in order to become better parents. The 4th protective factor is concrete support. That simply means that we all need help sometimes. And so it's about resources, being able to identify resources in times of need. And the 5th protective factor is the social and emotional competence of children. And that protective factor is all about the fact of how do we help our children to communicate in effective ways, because children are learning at all different ages how to communicate. So for example, a 2-year-old, we know that 2-year-olds are typically, they have tantrums. A 17-year-old, they shut down. So how do we help them to work through that? Because we can't leave the 2-year-old in the middle of the floor at Walmart.
Right.
And we can't leave the door closed when the 17-year-old slams the door. So as parents, how do we help our children to communicate in effective ways?
So I'm going to show this slide again because I think it's important if anyone wants to contact Be Strong Families for a parent cafe. What we see here is the website for bestrongfamilies.org. And is there also a phone number that you want to give, or another way that parents watching the program or grandparents watching the program or other caretakers watching the program want to contact Be Strong Families?
Well, we can give the phone number at the close of the program, but I will say another way to reach us is through social media. We do have a Facebook presence.
Great.
So if you can log on to Facebook at Be Strong Families. We have some a couple of parent pages on Be Strong Families.
Great. Okay. So someone's watching the program or hears about this, Dena, and they say, I really want to be part of this. If a parent says, well, I'm not sure though, maybe everyone there will already know the answers to these questions. I feel funny bringing up something I don't know how to do. What would you say to them?
So I would say to them that it's really not about scrutiny or judgment with Be Strong Families or with the parent cafes, that, we all come from different experiences and from different walks of life, and we can learn from each other. And that's the opportunity that exists at a parent cafe, an opportunity to learn from each other's wisdoms and from our strengths and also from our mistakes.
And when parents come and they express to you what this has meant to them, what kinds of things do they say?
Parents are really overjoyed after coming to a Parent Cafe experience, and they often want more. They want to know what's next. When is the next cafe going to be scheduled? How can I get more involved? That was my experience. The first time that I went to a Parent Cafe, because it just felt really safe to be able to share, and I didn't feel like I overshared or anything like that. And so I wanted to know more of what the organization was doing and how I could be more involved. And that's often the experience. And so building up on that, we have parent support groups within Be Strong Families. We have a regional parent engagement group. And so if after the experience of a cafe you want to become more involved, you can become trained to host parent cafes if you like, or some of our other trainings, and be a part of our regional parent engagement group.
So if a new parent new to your program comes, or a grandparent or a caretaker, when they come to the first Parent Cafe, do they have to commit to more than one?
Well, what we typically do for parent cafes is they're in three. There's three scheduled, like maybe a couple of weeks behind each other. And so again, it's a process of building, and we have different themes for each cafe. So people are encouraged. No one is going to force you to do anything, but you're encouraged, and it's not hard sell, I can tell you that. Parents really want to come back and do more and be more involved in the process.
Oh, I would think once parents experience the support and the opportunity to share, that they'd want to come back.
Yes.
But to get in the door, they don't have to promise more than that much. Okay. So now you're here about a new program that you're leading, and that's called?
A More Perfect Union.
Okay, so we're going to look just at some information about this. And can you tell us how this differs from Parent Cafe?
Sure. So first of all, I should say that A More Perfect Union is an extension of the parent cafes that already exist. And so as I spoke about earlier about building, here we are again building another leg of our journey in how we help parents to have conversations that are really going to help them to thrive as a family, even and to strengthen themselves and to strengthen their families. And so the parent cafes that we've been hosting for a while is all about the things that we can control within our families, just the everyday, today issues that we deal with, schooling, peer relationships, and so on and so forth. But A More Perfect Union is a little bit different because it deals with a lot of the social and political issues that we're grappling with today as a nation. So, we're in a bit of a mess right now in America. Hate is on the rise.
For sure.
There's a lot of divisive rhetoric that's happening, and being different is being challenged, and a lot of rights of people is being challenged as well. And so A More Perfect Union recognizes that, and we also recognize that parents are struggling with how do we talk to our children about these issues like gun violence, issues like immigration, bullying, policing. How do we have meaningful conversations about these issues? And what do we want to communicate? What do we want to language during those conversations? Do we want to language compassion and acceptance and embracing diversity and love? And how do we do that, right? When we may have our own biases, our own fears. And so this experience is an opportunity to lay all of that on the line, right? And to have conversations with other parents about these issues. And so we have constructed a new deck of questions around issues like the ones I just mentioned to help parents to navigate that murky water.
So I'm going to ask you more about that in one moment. I just need to remind our viewers that this program is on Cable Access Network Television, Channel 21, and we can also be seen live stream cantv.org/hotline. And we are delighted and privileged to have Dena Chapman with us this evening. And Dena is telling us about her new program, A More Perfect Union. So please tell us some more. Maybe I will ask you to take one of those issues, and if I could take bullying just for an example. And how would you go about, or how do you go about structuring that so parents can talk together?
Well, we've created a deck now. I believe there's about 300 questions that we have, and the questions are centered around our protective factors. Everything that we do in Be Strong Families, our foundation is these protective factors that help to keep children safe and families strong. So we're using those first, and then we structure our questions around these issues that we want to delve into, like bullying.
And I think it would be fair to say that these protective factors that you've told us about, Dena, these really come out of the research about protective factors, or what kinds of things build community and family relationships,
Yes.
right? So it's not like someone just, it would be all right if someone sat down and said, I think these are the things we should do, but it really is confirmed
Yes.
by what the research is about what children and families need.
Yes.
And so now, what would you say are the issues that the parents most want to talk about?
With regard to A More Perfect Union?
Yes.
I don't know that there is one particular topic. I mean, I think, we're all in different places, so we have different things that we want to talk about, but the way that there's several different ways that you could utilize this deck of questions. You could shuffle these questions into the existing deck of Parent Cafe questions and have a cafe that way, or if your community, your school were having a particular issue, like about bullying, for example, and you wanted to just zero in on that, then you can do what we call stack the deck and pull out all the bullying questions, and have a cafe just based on that. And then you would want to follow up. What are the next steps after that? So now that we've had this rich conversation, what's next? Where do we go from here? What do we do about this?
So I probably skipped a step here. When you talk about the questions in the deck, are we talking about actual physical pieces of paper with questions on them?
Yes, cards.
Cards, like,
the
I'm going to
cards
switch back to our diagram, and do you want to speak about this while we have it up?
Yes, so there was a process in creating this deck of questions, as with all of the decks that we utilize at Be Strong Families, to have transformative conversations. And that process, part of that process is called appreciative inquiry, right? And so we are looking at developing questions that invite inquiry, more questions, generative questions, who, what, when, where, how questions, right? Open-ended questions as opposed to closed-ended questions, so that it will stimulate more conversation. And we want those questions to be questions that end on a high note, rather than a note that's negative, that are going to leave people feeling some kind of way, but really just an opportunity to expand people's minds and allow people to share their lived experiences. So that's part of the process that we use to develop these questions, so that we can invite people into the cafe and they can have that kind of experience.
And as you conduct this, are you finding new areas that you need to talk about? Are you finding areas that almost are hit a chord with everyone and you absolutely have to talk about? How do you go about deciding in today's gathering, this is what we're going to talk about?
I think all of this, in terms of A More Perfect Union, is new for all of us, because even as a nation, we're not used to talking about these issues.
No.
We're tiptoeing around a lot of the issues, and we're not getting anywhere doing that. And so that's what this is about. And even in terms of our parenting, we're not used to having these kind of conversations, such that if our child comes home from school and says, "Oh, I want to have a play date with Johnny." Johnny has two mommies. How do you have a conversation with your child about that? right? And what are your own feelings about that? So this is what a more perfect union is about. We're at this place where we have to have those conversations. And how do we do it in a way that nurtures our family, that supports our family?
I was just going to say, and parents, it's very important for parents to have those conversations, because if your child doesn't hear it from you, where does your child learn?
Absolutely.
Right? So,
Absolutely.
well, as we move on this program, and I wish we had a couple hours really to talk about these wonderful program, how do people get involved for a more perfect union?
They would contact Be Strong Families.
Okay.
And I'm the team lead for a more perfect union. And we'll be able to put up a number shortly too. That's one way to get involved. Go to our website. You can contact us there.
We've got the website back on the screen here, okay?
Yeah.
And there's another program that I wanted to ask you about, and that's art and activism.
Yes.
Can you tell us in the couple minutes we have left here, tell us about art and activism?
So, and once again, art and activism is another level to our A More Perfect Union piece. So we know that traditionally artists and celebrities and athletes as well have often used art as a way to elevate the conversations around social justice issues, right? And so we are borrowing from that idea and infusing that into A More Perfect Union cafes. So traditionally with our cafes, we have different rounds of conversations, maybe 2 to 3 rounds of conversations, but now we're layering those rounds of conversations, and in between we're having artists perform, and the performances are all structured around the issues that we're speaking to. So it gives elevation to the issues that we're having conversation about, but it's also a nice way to balance out the cafe, because when we're talking about these issues, they can become tense and challenging for people to maneuver, and sometimes people are maybe a little bit intimidated by that, and so this is a nice way to balance that out. So this is a piece that's very new and it's still under construction that we're working with for art and activism.
Okay, but, what I understand from what you've been telling me here and before our program, even with a bit of discomfort or tension, as you said, at one point in a conversation, parents keep wanting to come back.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what would you say to parents and caregivers here who want to learn more? You've mentioned about the website, but what other question might they have that you want to answer in our last minutes?
Well, I would just say to parents, what is it that presents a challenge for you in terms of these social and political issues that we're faced with, and what are you messaging to your child, and how do you want to learn how to message more, maybe perhaps more appropriately, or message in a way that conveys love and compassion around these issues. And if that's something that you're interested in doing, Be Strong Families can certainly support and assist with that.
And as we think about, I suppose we should show you Be Strong Families one more time, actually, so you can be sure to find our More Perfect Union, as well as the parent cafes. This is on the website one last time here. And our leader of A More Perfect Union, of course, is Dena Chapman, who has been sharing with us these stories of how you can conduct both the parent cafes and the newer program, A More Perfect Union. And our invitation to those of you who are watching is, parents don't have to be alone. These are my words now, not Dena's. I'm not putting it in her mouth. But I think this is part of what she's saying.
Yes.
Parents don't have to be alone. Caregivers don't have to be alone. In fact, we shouldn't be alone. We raise children together in our society in a positive sense. And so Be Strong Families, through its programs, make it possible to be supported in this inquiry and in this learning.
Yes.
And so I thank you, Dena,
Thank
for
you.
being with us. And I encourage our viewers to take a look at Be Strong Families take a look at Dena's program. I think you're going to want to participate. And we are presenting this through Cable Access Network Television tonight, Channel 21. We are also live streaming on cantv.org/hotline. I hope that you found this helpful and that you will really take a look at what Dena Chapman and her colleagues at Be Strong Families are providing.